Well, my dear friends, I hate to break it to you, but I've got more depressing news for you today. In fact, today is officially the most depressing day of the year. Yes, you heard me right. Today, January 16th, is Blue Monday. What is Blue Monday, you ask? Well, the term was coined by psychologist Dr. Cliff Arnold, who worked out a formula to show how the third Monday of January is especially bad. It takes into account factors including the average time for New Year's resolutions to fail, the cold weather, post-holiday debts, the time since Christmas, and motivational levels. Starting to sound familiar? Yeah, same. But don't be concerned, because we're going to tell you how to get out of that January funk. And joining me specifically to talk about that is psychologist Dr. Camila Folkosh-Lavan from Jerusalem. Doctor, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, break down what is Blue Monday and what is the science behind the January blues.
So as we know already from before, right, there are the Blue Mondays or the Blue Sundays, depending on when you're starting as a culture your work day. So usually the work week after the holiday, after the weekend, it's very, very difficult. People don't really want to go to work. There's a lot of depression, sadness. It's like, I cannot believe I'm waking up to this again, right? And then as the week progresses, we kind of get into it. And then as the weekend again, and so it goes. But the interesting study here is that it basically combines several variables, as you already mentioned. So one of them, for example, is as we know already, there is a seasonal depression for some people. For some people it's more, for some everything is degrees. Yeah, for some people it's more, for some people it's less. So even someone that isn't necessarily diagnosed with it, but maybe it still affects. For example, the fact that there is no light, not as much light, right? It also produces more melatonin, meaning the drug that will naturally be putting you to sleep. Of course, sometimes there's not enough of it, and also it's associated sometimes with depression and sleep disorders. But like the more variables you put together, the more likely you are to come up with an outcome, meaning you have the lack of light, you have the higher or lower, depends on who you are, degree of the drug specifically that's produced in your body. Then on top of that, the resolutions, as you already mentioned, because during New Year, everyone's like, okay, this is a new start. Finally, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, which brings us to goal setting and how to set it realistically so that you actually get there. Yeah. And then, as you mentioned as well, after the holidays in general are often very, very depressing times for many people because they find themselves alone. The alone part is highlighted of like, maybe you have loved ones that passed away. Maybe you don't have the family members, or the family members that you have, you don't really like. So on top of that, different kinds of debts, you just bought a lot of gifts. All of that together hits you, and you realize where you are again. You're waking up to the same life and the same resolutions that didn't work, and maybe you didn't find a way to get out and actually fix your life.
All right, doctor, that is depressing. What can we do to feel better here?
So one of the things that is very important, and as you know, we talked about this a little bit, and again, I love everything that you bring up because you bring up such an important topics, is that realistic goal setting. This is crucial because you cannot be thinking of like let's say losing weight, right? Of, okay, yesterday I want to be already, losing 10 kilo or 5 or whatever it is, or pounds. It just won't work. So like, how do you do it in a way where you don't sit on a diet, which by the way, don't work. And it's a very long discussion in addition to. But like, how do you set up your life in a way that is healthy, right? How do you add different, vegetables into your lifestyle, or fish, or whatever it is that you eat, so that you eat in a healthy way that maybe is less calories, right? If you want a different job, you don't like your job. Let's start, like, people sometimes come to me of like, how do I change my job? What do I do? So the first question for me is like, what do you like to do just for fun? And they always think like, okay, you didn't understand what I'm asking you. I want to change my job. I'm like, yeah, I understand, but what do you like to do? So once you know what you actually like, and sometimes there are steps to even figure out what you like by now, is you can make a career out of anything, literally, especially now in the virtual international world that we live in. Literally anything can be a career. The money will follow. Just like, how do you set up it realistically, this kind of a system for yourself? And you can, where you slowly start getting out of debt, where you slowly start building, studying towards the career that you like, that you want, towards the life that you'd like. There are ways to do this, just needs to be realistic and needs to be smart.
Dr. Camila Folkosh-Lavan, thank you for that insight, and let's hope everybody has a less depressing January.
Life in general.